Broadcasting way too early from three separate Wi-Fi connections. It's PT Breakfast Club with Tony Maritato, Dave Kittle, and Jimmy McKay.
Good PT morning to you. The only morning show here at PT Breakfast Club where we talk about business marketing and the profession of rehab without pretending everything's not on fire. Today we're getting into where ad money is actually going in 2026 and where your ad money should be going. Why YouTube just handed busy clinicians a massive shortcut that should have been done a year ago. And a January experiment that might help clinics survive the slowest referral months of a year. That's Tony's idea. Coffee in hand, opinions ready. But first, Tony, of course, we start the show. You have to pay some bills, Tony. You got to make sure the sponsors, we always have to keep the sponsors happy. So welcoming a new sponsor to the show. This one is NoteScribe Plus. A lot of AI NoteScribes sponsoring the show. They understand what attention here at PT Breakfast Club means with our audience. NoteScribe Plus, the documentation system that promises to save you time by making your notes longer, slower, and emotionally draining. With NoteScribe Plus, every sentence includes medical necessity, legal defense, and just enough ambiguity to keep you nervous. NoteScribe Plus, charting so thorough, you actually forgot the patient's name. Learn more, write more, not better.com. NoteScribe Plus is a good one. Did you like that graphic? It's just like infinity, just nothingness there.
What I like is so many of these are so true to life. Like one of my favorite Simpsons quotes is, "It's funny because it's true."
Funny because it's true. Yeah.
And that is absolutely, like, I look at my AI scribe documentation and it's awesome. No human could ever do that, but it's gotten to the point where now this becomes the new norm. A reviewer looks at my notes, looks at somebody else's notes and says, "You suck. Tony's doing it right."
Right.
But it takes me, a tenth of a second to push go and I'm done.
Did you, I forget what Facebook group we were in, but someone was like, a lot of these notes are sounding, they're starting to sound really human. And I was like, well, that's funny because most of the notes I've read written by humans, you're trying to sound robotic. Like that was the problem for me. I had a degree in journalism. So I was like supposed to like facts, but also tell a story. And here I'm supposed to like vacuum out all the humanness to this. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. So it's very confusing to me. All right, let's kick it off with the first story. You know Neil Patel. How would you describe Neil Patel? Like, I just know him as a guy who just sort of seems to know stuff about the social media, money, all those things. But like, what's his title?
He's I would call him an SEO expert. I would call him a marketing expert. He's in that world.
Yeah. All right. So Neil Patel, go follow him, even if you never buy any of his products. That's sort of like 90% of his pitch. Although he does have a bunch of really great tools. One that I use, I would say semi-often, which is answerthepublic.com. It's a great tool. Just go play around with it for the 90 seconds. You'll figure it out. But
Neil Patel bought that, right?
What's that?
He bought that site.
Oh, he bought it? I thought he made it.
No. So that site was an existing site. Somebody else had it. He had a keyword research tool that he had created. I can't remember the name of it. And then he went out and I think it was a $7 million purchased keyword, or what was it? Answer the Public, and then brought it in under his system. And basically it was a way to support his agency business. He has like 750 agents working under him, tens of millions of dollars. And so, that was a site that he purchased.
He made that money back on the second day, probably.
It was like when Facebook paid $1 billion for Instagram, when Google bought YouTube for $1.2 billion. Everybody thought the buy was crazy, and now they've made their money back so many times over.
So that's what Neil Patel is. Neil Patel is sort of like this person who tells you, he helps you see around corners, right? And he's always sharing these, but he has access now to massive data sets because you just said he has 750 agents working underneath him. He can pull information. He can see trends. This is why he looks like he knows what's happening next, is because he knows what's happening right now. So he shares these great graphs. So we'll talk about this. And then also you're having an idea about a challenge that we're going to do, or you're going to propose or have proposed in our Facebook group. He's polling a bunch of people who are spending money on the platforms. It used to be newspaper, TV, radio, billboard, magazine. Now it's a bajillion platforms. So if you can see the graph on the screen, we'll go through it. But you see where the people were asking, on what platform are you doing? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and so on. Are you decreasing your budget in 2026, keeping it the same, or will you have increased it? So you're looking for orange and you're looking for purple, yellow being the middle. So you're seeing orange. I'm seeing TikTok. I'm seeing LinkedIn. I'm seeing Snapchat, almost 50% increase. X, an increase in 62%. Although I'm not a math guy, you could say like the buys were so low maybe in 2025 that any increase is going to look like a giant increase. Facebook is the one that appears to be down, with many people, almost half, staying the same. What do the tea leaves look like to you, Tony, just looking at this like a snapshot?
I don't know. It's the first time I'm seeing it, so I don't have an opinion yet.
Here's how I look. I see a lot of orange. I see a lot of will increased into 2026, again, with the exception of Facebook, but it might just be saturation.
Well, so my understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, this is saying where the money is going
in 2026. Yeah, where will you be allocating your, and I'm guessing he's got some citations at the bottom of
because to me this says Facebook is the place to be, because there's a vacuum that's happening. Pinterest is another one. There's a vacuum that's happening, and so it's sucking me toward where is the greatest opportunity to spend the least, get the most. Yep.
Facebook. There was a small but scrappy company called Girls Gone Wild back in the 90s and 2000s, and hate them all you want. I mean, essentially they sold like the videos you could find on the internet now, like, some would call it like inappropriate content. Essentially they would just these guys were content creators before content creators were content creators. They would send a camera crew on spring break and then just be like, they would just film what was happening there and they would share it. But then the genius of Joe Francis, is that his name? Did I just pull that out of I think his name is Joe Francis. Someone's going to fact check me, but I think it was pretty sure it's Joe. He looked at the tea leaves just like Tony did. He was like, where's my audience? Well, they're everywhere. He's looking for like, 19-year-old and 25-year-old dudes. And he's like, where's the ad money the cheapest? Where's the ad time the cheapest? So he would buy blocks of time at like midnight, 1, 2, 3 a.m. because he's like, those dudes are home. This is pre-scroll on your phone. He's like, those dudes are home watching whatever on TV, and he wouldn't run a commercial. He'd like buy like infomercial time. He'd run like a 10-minute nonstop parade of the hits movie trailer. So I think that's what Tony is telling me, not to invest in Girls Gone Wild. I don't think that's a good investment in 2026. But look where the ad revenue is going to be, the cheapest, because that's how ad spend where you'll see it going. So before we move on, this sort of floats into another idea that you just kicked out. Talk about the January ad challenge, why the average clinician, whether it's small, individual, or large organization, should pay attention to this challenge.
So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, you were interviewing someone. You guys were talking about marketing, and you were saying how, people say, but marketing doesn't work. We hear people say physical therapy doesn't work. I tried it. I am a great example of, I have never run a successful Facebook ads campaign.
Wow, really?
Ever. Never.
How would you define success? Making more than you spent?
Making more than I spent, getting a new patient, like
really.
So, but I know it works. Like you can't have 50 people. This is a lesson I learned a long time ago. If 50 people are telling you you're wrong, and these are people you trust, you're probably wrong.
Yeah.
Like reassess your position. So I know that there's an opportunity there. I haven't figured out the opportunity. I'm the one that's messing things up. So I said, hey, maybe we'll do a paid ads campaign challenge. It doesn't have to be Facebook, could be Google, could be YouTube, could be whatever. But the idea is I need to crack that shell, and I need to figure out how to make it work. So I'm going to tap the shoulder of people that I know are successful in Facebook ads specifically. We know that Q1 is the lowest ad cost historically.
Why? Help people understand that.
because everybody blew their budgets in Q4 of the previous calendar year. So everybody saves their money for Black Friday, for the holiday sales. They push. And what I do, as an arbitrageist, is I say, okay, I want to produce a ton of content because that's when ads are selling for the highest cost. At the end of the year, I want to buy a bunch of ad space at the beginning of the year. Buy low, sell high, like a very simple principle. And so that's what I'm thinking about.
You're zigging when everybody's zagging. Can I tell a real IRL version of this? So if anybody's from Northeast Pennsylvania, it's a long winter in Northeast Pennsylvania. I was there for 8-9 years running a radio station. And the unofficial end of winter was the St. Patrick's Day parade. This is a point of pride in Northeast Pennsylvania. They will tell you some made up statistics about how they have like the second biggest St. Patrick's Day parade or something. They don't, but it is a big deal because I'm like, you're not bigger than Boston and New York and Savannah. Anyway, radio stations, TV stations, all the local media outlets, traditional media outlets would always have a float, always. And then my first 5 or 6 years there, I was either the number 2 guy at the radio station or became the program director, the number 1 guy. And every year we'd have a meeting with the general manager. All the program directors would walk in and we'd give Bill, the GM, a pitch. Here's how much money I need. Here's what I'm going to do with it. Here's how much money I need. Here's what I'm going to do with it. To be in the parade. We blew a lot of money for a 3-hour parade. Finally, after, 4 or 5 years of me doing this, I'm standing on the float one year going, what are we doing? So I go into the meeting. I position myself in the room to go last. So program director 1 goes, 2 goes, 3 goes, and he turns to me. He's got his notepad. Jimmy, what's your pitch? And I go, I need 10 grand. And he goes, okay, great. What are you going to do with it? And I said, nothing. And he's like, all right, Jimmy, like quit being a scutch. What are you going to do with it? Nothing. I'm going to take $3,300 and I'm going to spend it in April, May, and June. And I'm going to run, and I made up like 3 different initiatives. And he's like, but the St. Patrick's Day parade. And my whole guys there was, why yell when everybody else is screaming? And I said, Bill, everybody was like, you can't do that. The Northeast Pennsylvania loves this parade. I said, no one will notice I'm not there.
Yeah.
Not one person. And if they do, you know what I'm going to do? No, we were there. Didn't you see us? We were doing a thing with the thing. It was big. It was awesome. Everybody loved it. No one noticed we weren't there. And then in April, May, and June, when everybody just did what Tony just said and they blew their budget, I was the only one standing in the town square lighting $100 bills on fire going, come pay attention to me. And it worked.
So we just talked about this. Somebody was asking about holiday cards, sending, presents to physician offices. I'm not against any of it, but I'm against doing it when 1,000 other providers are doing it for 1,000 other specialties. I don't waste time sending stuff to a doctor's office in late December. I will do it in June, July. I will do it when it's least expected, when nobody else is doing it. Now, the caveat to that is, if there is somebody who is not receiving something, that person who's sitting alone at Christmas Eve with no cards, no gifts, nothing going on, that's the person you spend the money on at that time.
Yes.
But if you're talking about a local orthopedic who's got 50 providers banging on the door to give them gifts, now is not the time to give them the 51st gift.
Can I tell a story of how I did sort of like that, but not really?
Yeah.
So there's different ideas. Like if you're a band, everyone's assumed like you're rolling in money. You're like Scrooge McDuck. And that just isn't true. It's not. So there were a lot of different like rules with your record company if you were on tour. So I knew with certain record companies, if bands were on tour, they were out of pocket for hotel and food on off days, on certain days. So I would pay attention to New York and Philly concert dates because they had to drive through Scranton and Northeast Pennsylvania. And I would reach out to these bands and be like, hey, listen, why don't you stop by the radio station, play 5 songs on the radio. We'll help sell some tickets for the Philly show or the New York show, right? We'll jump on the air. And then I would always be talking to the manager who was notoriously a little grumpy because their job is hard. And I'd go, I would have trade, AKA barter, AKA we'd run commercials for local resorts and then be able to, have that in our pocket. So I'd say to the manager, how many guys you got in your crew and your band? And they'd be like 10. And I'm like, great, I'll give you 10 hotel rooms. And they were like, what? Like, to them, it was like me dropping a sack full of money. So I would say, can you guys give me an hour little concert, acoustic, unplugged? You don't have to set your stuff up. I will house your band and your team. I will feed your team, and you guys give me 6 songs. And the other thing was, Tony, do you know this? If you go and play a concert at an arena and you bring your t-shirts to sell, the arena gets a cut. The arena gets a cut of the merch you paid for. So I would also triple down and go, although you can sell merch on site, and I'd wait for them to be like, what's your cut? And I would go 0. And now they loved me. Now they're like, you want us to play for 3 hours? And I said, listen, you're going to do a show in Philly, which is an hour away, or New York, which is an hour away. Bring the little credit card swiper. Bring it. Sell tickets. I don't care. It's not more for you doesn't mean less for me. So what Tony's saying is like, pay attention to what everybody else is doing. And the minute, like, it feels like it's a Yogi Berra quote. You know, nobody goes to that bar. It's too busy, right? Nobody goes there. It's packed. The minute everybody in a Facebook group is telling you this is exactly what to do, realize that everybody in your geographic area is probably doing that. Start to go the other way. And then you are by definition innovative.
Right.
I like making donations on behalf of. I've done that before where $20 doesn't stand out. And, a Dunkin' Donuts gift card and a box full of munchkins doesn't stand out. But when you figure out, because someone posted on their social media, they love pets, and you're like, hey, just FYI, I made a donation for ASPCA in your name. Just seeing what you're doing. And people are like, that, boom, like that lands. $20 goes a lot further when it has meaning attached to it. And it's not empty calories. Nothing against munchkins. I do love me a good box of munchkins, though. So explain how the challenge works. So you have a Facebook group, Passion. What is it? Passion, Podcast, Profits, YouTube.
Yeah, Passion to Profit, I think is what it is. I don't know. I was working on it yesterday. You were doing a podcast thing.
I was talking with Andrea, who's like a marketing person, but she's way more structured than me.
Yeah. And so, no, not during the podcast. Like you were helping people start their podcast.
Oh yeah. I sort of took a bite out of what you were doing with 0 to paid.
Yeah.
And I'm doing 0 to on air, which is like, I don't have a podcast. I don't have a YouTube channel. I'm going to hold your hand. You could Google how to do all of this. You don't need me, but you're not going to do it unless I put you through 8 weeks. And then I'll get you all through like the landmines and stuff like that. But while I was doing that brought this idea.
I think, yeah, it is. And I think your name should be Unknown to Known or something along those lines. But I was like, everybody needs the power of controlling attention, period. Yes. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter your business, nonprofit. Doesn't matter if it's your kids' basketball team. Like right now, my kids are freshmen on the high school basketball team. Their social media has been the pits. They're doing a lot better this year. I'm like, these people need attention. So if you can control and understand how Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, Pinterest ads, TikTok ads work, that is a long lever that we can pull whenever we need it. So yes. I'm working on it. I want to do a 2-phase, like a 7-day sprint, because every time I do a challenge for 30 days, I get worn out. They get worn out. It's too much. With the option for a longer 28-day. I'm laying the framework out now. Obviously, best time to start is today, but I'm looking at January 1st, and it's free. It's just, hey, I'm going to put what I'm doing, my experience out there. You, Jimmy McKay, love building in public. Yeah. And I'll just share, and we'll be like, look, let's see what's working. Let's see how we craft the narrative. Yesterday, I shared 2 Facebook posts, let's say out of 5. I intentionally wanted engagement. That was the point of the post. Give me comments. Give me engagement. I talked to ChatGPT. We worked back and forth brainstorming. I think one of them is at like 350 comments in less than 24 hours. The other one's at like 280 comments in less than 24 hours. And when you look at my other posts, they get a lot of views, but very few comments, like 0.
Okay, so what was this a video or was this text or what was it? And how'd you do that?
So still photo. In fact, I'll pull it up while we're talking. It was just, they were both photos. They were actually photos I harvested. That's an important word. I harvested from one of my Facebook groups. I went back to 2019. I grabbed the photo. I asked ChatGPT to make an engagement-based post for this photo. I said, I want to get a lot of comments. And so that's what we did. We posted it. And like I said, the rest is in the analytics. I'm pulling it up now. I'll share it as soon as I get it.
Smart man. I mean, so there's a lot you can learn. Again, looking at someone like Neil Patel, I think this is a great time of year. People love to go backwards and look at those things. So I'll ask a few questions when you're done. But I've always said to people, if you released a video 11 and a half months ago and it did well, and it's evergreen material, why wouldn't you release that video again? Why wouldn't you take that and do the new version of the new spin on that? Let's see what we got here.
All right. So these are the ones I posted after the main engagement. And I didn't focus on engagement for these. So like, 2.4K, 3K, 4K, 3K. And I mean, 0 comments, 2 comments, 0 comments. That's pretty typical for me. Here are the two main ones. I see a lot of variations of incision closures. And I basically just say, what did your surgeon do? Did they use staples? Did they glue it? Or did they do something else? 53,000 views, 305 comments. The other one, quick question for those of you who had a knee replacement. How did you schedule your outpatient therapy? Like, these aren't even exciting questions.
Yeah, but
basically I'm asking, did you schedule it? Did somebody on the surgical team schedule it for you? 57,000 views, 363 comments.
Like, that's so smart in my opinion. Not sure why my camera's fuzzy. There we go. That's so smart because I've never had surgery, but people who have, like, this is like running a marathon. It's the thing you're going to talk about. Like, kudos to the surgeon who actually starts coming out with like, I had a knee replacement and all I got was this stupid t-shirt and a new knee t-shirts as you are wheeled out of the operating room. People, I'm not going to say love talking about it. They just do. Yeah. Well, my experience, this is a traumatic thing and people talk about it a lot. So you didn't even, I'm not even sure. Did you even say, oh yeah, I guess you didn't say the words that like comment this.
You know what?
You were just like, how was your experience? You made the door ajar, and people who've had surgery, they walk through it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're chomping at the bit to give their 2 cents, to make their voices heard. I don't even know that I read the full, like, it's literally, I'm going to share it. Why is it not up there? There it is. There oh no, so here, I'm going to switch over. I'm going to show you guys a different screen real quick.
Pop that up.
Can you see that, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is all it is. I see a lot of variation with incision closures after a knee replacement. This surgeon used staples. Others use glue. What did your surgeon use? And how did it affect your recovery?
Yeah.
Now, like I said, this wasn't even my photo. I've got thousands of these photos, but I just went into my Facebook group. I grabbed the photo. These are publicly available images. Now, I did put a disclaimer when you join my Facebook group. Your images are subject to be used publicly. But I do go back a couple years just so that maybe people forget whose images these are. Mm-hmm. But if I was new and I had no audience and I had nothing, I would take the risk of harvesting photos from publicly available sources, putting them out here and using them.
Wow. Well, you're showing the power. We mentioned this, the power of attention, right? And not just a couple days ago. I am not a fan of pugilism. I don't dislike it. That's fancy talk. That's Latin for boxing. But this guy, he wants you to hate him. Yeah. I am flashing, not the gentleman on the right, breaking the guy's jaw on the left in two places. We're talking about Jake Paul. And people are like, he's not a real boxer. I'm like, I don't know. Looks like he got his real face really punched. And the numbers I was seeing, someone was breaking down the math. It was like he earned $93,000. $93,000 a second or something in total revenue for how long he was fighting. He makes himself the heel, right? Which is, if you're not like a WWE fan or WWF fan from back in the day, it's whoever was fighting Hulk Hogan. Make that guy. He's as egregious as it can be. You hate him all you want. I'm in the background clapping. I don't like boxing, but I'm watching what he's doing. So for people who don't know, Jake Paul sets up these boxing matches with former pros and other, I don't even know who this guy was that got paid $50 million to fight him, but it's showing you that attention is actually the product. Did you see this new thing? Showing you more now, where I think some even big companies just take way too long. YouTube allows you to create clips in YouTube Creator Studio. How new is that? I never even saw it. All of a sudden I was like, what's this button?
Yep.
So you got that too? Because sometimes they'll roll out features quietly to a select group, which is smart, which is stealth. I just noticed it 2-3 days ago, but it might have been sitting there for a while.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I just noticed it just like you randomly. I was like, oh, it's a new button. Click it, look at it. My understanding, and I never ended up using Descript, but like Descript is a software that if you edit the text, it will edit the video or the audio.
Yes.
From the clip tool, I think you can go through and like search the text, chop the text. You can edit the video based on what you're doing to the text.
Yep.
There's a lot of functionality there, I'm sure. I just haven't had the time to play with it because I just saw it like 2 days ago.
Yeah. So essentially what you can do is, I think I've got the wrong one. No. Oh, that's a clip I created. So I could create video clip. It will give me some suggested ones, which already puts it 50 miles. Well, you could take a clip from any moment. Yes, but like, help me. I don't want to watch this episode again. Listen, I talked to Dave and Tony once. I don't have to relive it, the entire thing again, right? It will give you suggested clips. And then just like you said, it will give you, like, this one's from Ben. This is like us reading a quote from Ben Galen. And if I want to shorten it, I literally just highlight like I'm editing a Word document where I want it to begin and end, create draft, and it'll create the clip for me. Why is this such a big deal? Like, pretend someone has no idea why this is a big deal, Tony. Why is this a big deal?
It just speeds up the workflow. Like we're going to create an hour of content today. There are going to be clips within this hour that are far better than the full hour as a whole. The some value of the parts is greater than the whole. So now we could go back in and I could be like, oh, Jimmy said something about Neil Patel. I do Control F, Neil Patel. I find that, I clip that part of the video and I publish it as a new piece of media.
I explain it to people. It's like, listen, your website, whatever, is here. It's the palm of your hand. And then these fingers are all different ways to extend to the world. Organic social, paid social, email, all the different ways, right? But you can also change this to long form content. Your long form content could be your destination, or never even publish the long form content. Have the conversation and then be able to, the thing is, this is available. There are Opus clips, there's video AI, right? This is embedded in YouTube. When I said at the intro to the top of the show was, this should have been there 2 years ago. Like, if you work at YouTube, you should have walked in 3 years ago and been like, hey, everybody, this is CapCut. Can we produce something that's 1/1 billionth as good as this? And they finally sort of did. Like, this is a great first step, but like, you're still, like, CapCut is still 50 miles ahead of you. But hey, look, good to see them moving in that direction.
Yeah, but this is just like Google had, Chat GPT sitting on servers for years, never put it out.
Yep.
Doesn't mean they don't know, doesn't mean they don't have it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. What?
They're just waiting for the right moment.
Yeah. And then OpenAI comes out, puts Chat GPT out, which they don't even expect it to go as crazy as it did. Really? And then Google plays catch up after. Yeah. YouTube, at the level of YouTube, it doesn't have the quickness. That's why a business like mine is so much easier to be successful than a business like ATI. I can make a change tomorrow that's going to affect things that day. ATI is too big to do that. NovaCare, Select. There's just too much behind them to make those changes. I guarantee YouTube knows everything that would make them better. They just can't roll it all out.
Drew Cruz saying it keeps you from having to use different software. Why let me leave the ecosystem?
Sure.
Right? Like, why make me leave the ecosystem? Now it's embed, because what my process would be, we record on StreamYard, we broadcast these live. So we'll say there. So my video is already on YouTube. But for me to get clips, I've got to download that video, upload it to Opus Clip or Video AI or whatever you're going to use, or Descript. Then I've got to do some stuff. Then what am I going to do with those clips? Now I've got to go back to YouTube to share it as a short. This is your guy. You're saying you want someone to show you how to use paid ads. Yeah. He's been doing it, I think, since we were in PT school together. Fact check me on that, Will. So
I'm going to share something that I was in a conversation late last week that's going to make Will's head explode.
No.
A great office manager, married to a therapist. They own a practice. They have 3. I think they had 2, and then they just hired a new therapist. Pelvic floor based therapy. They're selling visits for $250 a session. They're doing a great job. 2 of the 3 are full. The new one isn't ramping up as quickly. 2 things now that jumped out at me in this conversation. One is they're thinking about adding Medicare because they're not busy enough. I'm like, how are you doing? You have 3 pelvic floor therapists. You're doing $250 a session already. How are you even considering going to $100 a session and all of the compliance burden of Medicare? I love Medicare for what I do, not for what they do. So that one caught my attention. The second one was they were frustrated because most of their plans of care are, 3 visits and then the patient falls off instead of the 10 to 12 visits they want the patient to do. Again, I'm like, you're going to cut your income by double, triple. Yeah, the patients are going to come more, but who cares? You're making a fraction of the money you would have made. This is not a problem that needs a Medicare solution. This is a problem that needs a marketing communication solution. And so that was really what turned the lever for me to be like, I can't let all these therapists, because this was one of 2 pelvic floor therapists who are struggling to sell these visits when we know other therapists that are doing $500 sessions.
So I think this is the same post I was reading. I feel like you went through the math better in the post. You were like, hey, listen, what you're willing to do is, correct me. You were like, hey, you have an empty slot worth $250. Yeah. And I know the impulse is to sell it for $100 because 100 is more than 0. But if you start taking hundreds, when are you going to be able to get 250s again? Right. But like, I need people to hear that and understand that. Like, you're stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. Yeah, get the message out. I've got 2 different, we'll talk about that later. But did I have that right? Like, I know that the impulse is we're empty.
You are paying $150 to collect $100.
Yes.
Because you should be collecting $250 in total.
Correct. So why aren't you doubling down on being able to fill the 250 that's worth $250 because you've decided and other people have decided? Like, this is almost a slap. This is like when you go to start a checking account at a new bank and they give you a toaster, and then 2 years later they're giving other people toasters and they're giving you 2.5% interest. Do you know what I mean? It's like, why was I worth the toaster 2 years ago, but now I'm not worth a set of steak knives? Nothing, because I need to get you in. Right. So it's almost a slap. It's like, to everybody who walks in who's paying $250. Oh, we sold it to this person for $150 or $100. That's a rate. That's where I want people to understand a lot of these cliches that we use. Cause I have to remember, like, sometimes people don't understand these phrases. That is what we call a race to the bottom. It's like, if you won't pay that, I'll just drop it. It's like, dude, you're just talking to you're selling the wrong thing, the right thing to the wrong person, or the wrong thing to the right person. But choose your hard. Like, I ask it in a different way. Whenever, it doesn't even matter who I'm talking to or what their product or service is. Who do you need more of? And they go, what does that mean? And I never answer their question. I just ask another question. I'm like, when this person's walking in your door, if you had a tail, it would be wagging. Now tell me who that person is. And they're like, oh, once you frame it that way, like, oh, 35-year-old moms who just gave birth and they want to get back to marathon running. And what are you selling? This to get them back to, what's that worth? Well, we have some people pay $500, but not everybody. And I go, then find more of the people who want to pay that. And I know this is counterintuitive to like our Peace Corps gene. I get it. I mean, I was in interaction with someone on LinkedIn the other day and they were like, everybody deserves great care. And I was actually using ChatGPT. I'm like, I agree with his argument, but something doesn't smell right. And ChatGPT was like, it's because they're using logical fallacies. I'm like, oh my God, I'm falling for them. Falling for the logical fallacies.
So you know what's brilliant? And I'm sure people watching this are doing this, but I know there's a lot of people who don't. I create posts. Midway through the post, my brain shifts gears. I know that's a problem for me, but I never had a tool before to analyze, proofread, and help me organize my thoughts. Guess what? ChatGPT comes along now, and this is basically how I do it. I write the post. I copy it before I publish it out of Facebook, throw it in the ChatGPT, say, hey, I need you to analyze this, tell me if the logic makes sense, blah, 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 blah. It has really helped my thought process and clarifying like, oh, you're right. So, and I'm surprised you didn't comment, but maybe you didn't see it. Did you see the post on my personal feed where I said, hey, we can monetize our physical therapy visits with media instead of insurance reimbursement?
I would have jumped all over that like
we've talked about it 100 times. One comment that came in, and I appreciate this guy's comments every time he shares them. He was actually a professor of mine. We were probably about the same age in school. We see the world through very different glasses, but nonetheless, he is a great therapist. I respect his ability as a therapist. I understand his position. He's a cash-based therapist. And so real quick, I'll read his comment and then we'll discuss it. So my post was, don't even waste time with insurance. Like you said, why are you picking up pennies when you're stepping over dollars? Just look, you can make $1,000 a visit if you monetize with media. It's very simple. And he said, physical therapy isn't social media or products. It's hands-on, critical thinking, patient education experience. It baffles me how you claim to deliver quality care in your practice while simultaneously suggesting to reduce our profession to becoming an online shill like a free social media company. Why not focus your brilliant marketing skills, thank you very much, toward advocating fair, that always gets me, fair reimbursement for our great profession that is proven to reduce downstream healthcare costs for a wide variety of musculoskeletal conditions. So first off the top of your head, what are you thinking?
Well, fair. And if we really did reduce costs, insurance companies would be leaf blowering money at us, right? But that's not the game that they're in. We are never going to win that game. Sorry.
Yeah. So when something doesn't make sense logically to me, that's another example. I put that into ChatGPT and I'm like, what am I missing?
What am I missing? Right.
Yeah. If there's so much research out there on why physical therapy or how physical therapy saves downstream healthcare costs, how it avoids surgery, how it does all this stuff, the people paying should be more motivated to use more physical therapy. That means the insurance companies would be more motivated to push us to the forefront of intervention, but they're not. Like, why are they not? Why does this not make sense? I shared that post. It was pretty interesting. There was a lot of good reasons why physical therapists aren't at the front of taking care of this kind of stuff. Back to the original post though, and the reply, I said, look, I understand by fair, you mean more reimbursement. You want to get paid more for what you're doing. I don't ever use the word fair. Fair is fiction. I said, if you want to get paid more, that's awesome. There's already APTA. There's already UPTA. There's already organizations far bigger than me doing things to fight insurance companies, trying to squeeze more money out of them. I think it's a losing battle. I see no value in that fight. That's not a fight that I want to be part of. You see me because I referenced Mr. Beast and I knew that was going to get people, I understand you think that I'm saying that we devalue the profession. That's your opinion. Your definition of quality is different than mine. I guarantee if this person came into my clinic, he would think I'm a terrible therapist. That's okay. I'm good with that. Adam Meekins thinks there are plenty of other people who are terrible therapists. That's okay. Like I agree with Adam more than I agree with the other therapists. But point being, all I am saying is we have something of value. We're choosing to sell it to an insurance company for less reimbursement than we can get if we chose to sell that same thing to a media company, to a YouTube or to an Instagram or to a Facebook. And I showed examples of, look, here are videos. I've generated thousands of dollars with these videos. The clips are 10 minutes. The clips come from patient engagement. It is not that hard. And I have said publicly, the profit I make from physical therapy treatment has been, I'm going to say duplicated, not replaced, because I still make profit from physical therapy.
Right.
But the same net profit I make from treating a patient and getting paid by insurance has been generated through social media. So if I wanted to, if I needed to, I could flip the switch and say, I'm not going to bill insurance anymore. I'm just going to go straight media, let them pay me for everything. I guarantee it would be an easier path and probably less headache. There's just still a little bit of fear in me that's been instilled. It's the rope around the elephant's foot. That's like, you can't do that. You can't be a physical therapist without being licensed and without billing insurance, or without charging the patient. Well, why not? Why can't I? I'm doing, I'm showing proof of concept.
If you lost your license tomorrow just because you forgot to pay the fee, would you be not as qualified as you are right now?
It's absurd.
Of course not. If you lost your license because of something bad, that's different. If you just gave up your license, are you suddenly less than a whatever? If a rose by any other name would smell so sweet, I'm sure my Mr. Mooney from 9th grade was mad that I hacked that up. We'll continue this conversation, but Tony, to prove your point, let's welcome Referral Loop. PT Breakfast Club, sponsored by Referral Loop, the automated referral follow-up system that emails patients exactly one time, then blames them forever for not showing up. Referral Loop specializes in passive-aggressive reminders, like just circling back again and again. Referral Loop, because if they didn't schedule, they clearly didn't want to get better. Sign up at circlebackagain.io. Referral Loop. I mean, I guess law is tainted. The practice of law is tainted because I don't know if you've been anywhere on television for the last 25 years, around 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., it's just these law shows. It's Judge Judy, Judge this, Judge Mathis, Judge Joe Brown. Law is forever tainted. They're not practicing law, Tony, because they're doing it on the TV. Can't believe that. Look what happens. Dr. Pimple Popper. Dermatology is forever stained because she realizes she making more bank and helping a lot of those people. Like, you might not know this, but I sort of know how shows work. When she finds someone with a gigantic lipoma the size of an NFL regulation football on their shoulder, and they have no nickels to their name, that's why they have a giant lipoma that's grown to the football size on their shoulder. They fly them to her. They put that person up. They do that surgery free. They probably pay that person to be on that show because they understand Jimmy, for some reason, loves looking at that weird stuff and seeing what happens. Ooh, what's in there? What is it? Right? It's just this weird, I don't want to call it morbid. I just want to call it creepy curiosity. And she understands. I'm sure she took heat because she was one of the first ones that I saw doing it. I'm sure her doctor colleagues were like, "Whoa, look at Dr. TikTok over here." I got called the other day. I got called a Temu version of Jimmy Kimmel. I could be so lucky. Are you kidding me? If I were Temu Jimmy Kimmel, trust me, I wouldn't be doing live streams, right? We'd have an intern handing me coffee. Drew Cruz, by the way, congrats on taking the leap of launching your own podcast. I gave him a deadline until December 31st. What's Drew saying?
I'm sure someone will be doing a Twitch live stream of patient treatments. Jimmy and I have talked about it 20 times. In real life, make more than the insurance reimbursement.
My only caveat is PT is a longer play. It takes longer to tell the story. So understand which you have to segment the stories.
So that's the thing. So it's more Survivor-ish than it is, 30-second short clip. But absolutely, like there are so many of these examples that have been proven in the past that come into it. And again, I don't understand. This is something that I would put into ChatGPT, because I don't understand the disconnect between, you've got a group of therapists who don't want patients to pay for anything and think it's immoral, unethical to charge patients in addition to what Medicare, Medicaid, or their private insurance will pay. I provide them a solution. I say, hey, we don't even have to charge anybody. We can make it completely free to the patient, to the insurance company. We can eliminate all the insurance regulation, because this was one of the things I said. I was like, look, as long as you're billing insurance, you are subject to the insurance policy coverage guidelines. This eliminates all of that. I could bring services to the people who would never in a million years be able to come see me. And now you're having a problem with this in some other way. It reminds me of the Mr. Beast, where he gave vision to blind people. I don't remember exactly what the procedure was. And he was being called out for exploiting the individuals who he paid for their surgeries.
He dug wells in Africa. I think he did 100 wells in Africa to bring clean water. And dude took heat, which if you learn anything from those two stories, it's, you will be pissing someone off no matter what you do. Get out of bed, you're going to piss someone off. Stay in bed too long, you're going to piss someone off. Here's my new idea for 2026. Since I've been more, and I want to see if Will's still there with his thoughts, and I want your thoughts, Tony. Since I've been more active on LinkedIn in the last couple of weeks, I'm getting more people being like, sounds like this guy might know what he's talking about. Spoiler alert. That remains to be seen, but we'll figure it out, right? People are now, can I pick your brain? Which Tony's solution is Clarity FM, which is a link that says, we're going to set up a phone call and you're going to pay me by the minute, because picking my brain ain't free. Otherwise, you see value there. So I have two options. Clinics, product companies have been coming to me and saying, hey, Jimmy, we're wanting to break into the rehab space. Feels like you talk a lot about this and people pay attention to you because they're paying attention. I now have two options in 2026. One is $450 an hour. You get me for 60 minutes. I do no research on your company. The camera turns on. I start the clock for 60 minutes. If you're a business and you actually value my time and insight, $450 feels like a layup. And I'll give you the transcript of the call, and I'll just verbally process for an hour. And then if you want to hire me to do whatever, I'll knock that $450 off of whatever I would have charged you. That's option one. Option two, Tony, you already know what it is. I'll sit down with you for an hour, but we're live streaming it, and I keep all the content, and I keep the attention. We don't want to give our idea away. Someone's going to steal it. First of all, no, they're not. They still have to execute on it. And if you're so great, why haven't you executed already? If it's so easy, or you have this inside track, well, we can't do that. Great. And the answer is $450. If my time is worth it, right. Look at all these degrees I have. I'm super smart. No, you singled me out. So you're telling me your time and my time combined for 60 minutes is not worth $450. And suddenly that maths. But here's my pushback to Drew. I'm sure someone will be doing a Twitch live stream of patient treatment as IRL stream and make more from that insurance reimbursement. Why isn't Drew? Are you waiting to be 50th? And I know, and I'm not singling Drew out. Drew's a solid dude, right? We're just going to wait for it. This is Roger Bannister. And for those of you who don't know who Roger Bannister was, he was the first person to break the 4-minute mile, which, by the way, Tony, I don't know if you've read, was impossible to do. A human heart would explode. Also, what was her name? Rosie, who ran with the first female to run the Boston Marathon. Doctors, learned medical doctors, said that a female's uterus would fall out of her vagina if she tried to run 26 miles. And I don't know if you've seen, Tony, but I believe more marathon finishers are actually female than male. To my knowledge, no uteruses have fallen out on any marathon course. But my point is to Drew, who's sweating now, it's just about being first. Who's going to be the first Judge Judy in PT? I think it's Tony.
So to support Drew, I go through this constantly.
Because it's hard.
why isn't it me? You know, why don't I give up my license? Why don't I move out of this world? Like, because it's scary and you paid a lot of money, you worked really hard. By the way, that's whenever you talk about the woman marathon runner, these are the guys coming out trying to tackle her to get her off the course when she's running the marathon. You know that story, right?
Yeah, that was the one I was talking about. I said Rosie, but it's Catherine Switzer. I don't know why I said Rosie.
So anyway, like, I totally empathize. Why don't me personally do all the things that I suggest? Because I'm afraid to. I'm worried about it. I've got a family. I've got kids. I've seen what it's like when you try to change things and that loud minority comes after you. You know, I've seen people get basically run out of their profession, close their business. Like, it's a scary thing. And we do live in a world right now where you have a big target on your back if you're trying to make things better in a certain way that a certain community doesn't agree with.
It's hard to convince someone of something when their salary is dependent upon them agreeing with this. That's what we're saying. Tim Fox started Fox Rehab 25 plus years ago. And this is back when there was no Control F of a PDF on Medicare rules. And he was sitting around going, why do these really deconditioned older adults never get PT? Are they just lazy? And then he was like, okay, he went to a doctor's office, I believe. I might be like hedging the story. But it's like, he asked, I want some referrals, doc. So that's traditional. But then he said, I want your toughest cases. And the docs were like, that's weird. People want the easy ones to make the money. He's like, give me the ones that you think are beyond hope, essentially. And then he was waiting at his office for them. And they never showed up. And then he was like, well, where are they? And he realized they're so deconditioned, they can't, getting to my office is not possible. So he's like, well, why don't we do what the old doctors used to do? They used to grab their leather bag and they used to walk to someone's house. That makes more sense, right? So he would do house calls. And then I wasn't in the profession then, but people said that's illegal. We're going to take your license, bro. Hey, everybody, grab the pitchforks, grab the torches. Let's go burn this guy down. He's doing something different. We're a profession that wants to be innovative, but look at this guy doing something different. Ban this man. And then he was like, but I hired a lawyer. I went to he tells the story. I went to the library. Kids, that's a building filled with books. And he looked up the regulation and it was like, I can do Medicare Part B. Doesn't show me where I have to do it. Why does it matter? Now they're in 78 states. Okay, maybe that math is high, but they're in a lot of states and they provide PTOT and speech to older adults. Like, but they wanted to set him on fire 30 years ago. Why? Because he was different. People want you to do better, just not better than them.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, the Yankees, they can't win in the 80s. Then they won in 96. And everybody was like, hey, that's great. They deserve that. They've had a good solid run where Don Mattingly couldn't get it done. Then they won a second one and people were like, screw these guys. We hate these guys. They're rigging the system. These guys suck. They want you to do well, just not better than them. And this, Tony, flips it and it touches people's emotions and they don't like it. Period. Hard stop.
Yep. Agreed.
We have another sponsor, Tony. This one's going to hit you. Burnout Metrics. Today's episode powered by Burnout Metrics, the only tool that tracks therapist exhaustion in real time. I think it attaches to someone's Whoop ring. The only tool that tracks therapist exhaustion, where green equals coping, yellow equals the therapist is bordering on sarcasm, and if their metrics are in red, they are browsing job boards at lunch. Burnout Metrics. You can't fix what you refuse to measure. Learn more at thisfeelsfine.health.
I love it.
Dave would chime in. This is why in every Facebook group related to PT now allows anonymous posting, because they're like, people are bitching and that's the only way they're going to do it. I understand it. It's just like, I don't know. Half the time I'm just whatever. All right. We got 6 minutes. Do you want to go to the mailbag?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's go. Where are we? Steven, longtime watcher, slightly panicking though. I'm a clinic owner who's finally built an audience. Now everybody wants me to sell something. What if I don't actually want to be an influencer? I did not plan this one. What if I don't want to be an influencer? Does that accidentally happen? Is it like accidentally becoming jacked? Like, oh, I lifted 3 weights and look at all these muscles. They're way too big for my suit. So clinic owner who finally built an audience. Now everyone wants me to sell something. What if I don't want to be an influencer? I would say, then don't sell anything. Ta-da! I would also say the thing to strive for. Somebody called me a physical therapy influencer once as I was walking on stage at an event. And I'm not saying this to look like I'm so grounded. It made me a little nauseous. Here's why. My entire podcast for the last decade is built on me sitting next to smart people, asking them questions, and then shutting up long enough for them to answer. I would say most of the people in PT or any profession who are actually influential are the first, when I ask them to be on my podcast, go, oh God, you're so kind. I don't really have anything to add. And I'm like, well, the 42 papers you published say otherwise that are being raved about. So I would say to this person, Steven, if everybody wants me to sell something, say no.
Right.
But you already are selling something because you said you built an audience. I'm assuming that's a social media audience. You are doing a great job of promoting the profession. It doesn't need to be on Capitol Hill. There's advocacy at work. Second one was from Mark from Phoenix. My clinic is slow every winter. Is this normal or a sign we built a fragile business? What would you say to that? Or is it just cycles? I would say it's cycles, right? Like we live in a society that is based upon insurance, and it runs out or it gets whatever at the end of the year. So that's why part of you is saying, hey, make sure you use all your benefits before the clock resets at midnight. So Mark says, my clinic is slow every winter. Is this normal or a sign we built a fragile business?
Where is he?
Phoenix.
Okay. I mean, like you said, every business is going to have cycles, every business. So now that you know it, you plan for it. Like when we were in Florida, we saw 30% of the patient caseload in August, September that we saw in January, February. We knew that was going to happen because it happened every year. That was not that we had a bad business. Maybe we chose a tough industry, but every industry is going to be tough. So what we did was our staff, I said, hey guys, this is your time of year. If you want to go pick up PRN at the hospital, you want to go pick up PRN at home health, you're going to make double or triple what you're making with me. It's going to save me. I will pay you. But if you're going to go work somewhere else 10 or 12 hours, that was one way to offload some of the expense. And then on the flip side, that's where we're like, hey, we've got this space. There's still residents here. Let's do other programs. We started the wellness program. We started some nutrition stuff. We started other things outside of direct physical therapy that allowed us to monetize those slow days, those slow weeks and months.
We should do it. I could do an entire episode on this, and I should do a video on this, of companies that started with one product, and by now that you know them, they are not that product.
Yeah.
Nintendo was a playing card company. Playing cards. And then this could be a great, like, just steal the strategy or look at this. Yeah. It's sort of like NPR's How I Built This. It's like they wanted people to play games, and they were doing that. So they sold cards. And then something happened. I don't even know the story, but this is making me want to do it. Something happened. Sales dipped. Another company was selling more cards because some guy's uncle, owned a chain of toy stores. Doesn't matter. What'd they do? Did they bitch about it in a Facebook group? Spoiler alert, there was no Facebook group back then. They changed their business model. Do you think all the other playing card or board games producers went over to Nintendo with pitchforks and torches and was like, you've urinated on the sanctity of playing cards? No, they didn't give a shit. They went, hey, great idea to not go out of business because you weren't selling enough playing cards. You shifted your business. Oh, but we're healthcare, Jimmy. We're different. Are you? Are you? Help me understand that. Why are you so high? Get off your high. This is like the same people who will tell you that you're the professor you're talking about, like you're not a great therapist and you're turning this into a shill, will also be the first person to bitch how he doesn't get paid enough. Right? Right? We should be reimbursed more. Well, then insurance doesn't respect you. Don't sign the damn contract. The people who say insurance needs to pay us more and they signed a contract are the same people who say you signed your student loan, pay the contract. Yes, they made the best games of the 80s.
Parting shots.
Parting shots.
There's a song. I don't know what the song is. something about like I'm better now than I ever was, or I don't know. Talking about Mario specifically, like traditional Mario, I was playing with my kids in the basement around the holidays. I thought I was way, way better than I actually was. I thought I was going to crush my kids. They were like, oh, what's this game? Holy cow. I'm terrible at Mario. I don't know if I just lost the hand-eye coordination. Anyway, that was my parting shot. It's the holidays. Go enjoy family, enjoy friends, like do the things that you do with them in real life, not on social media.
Yeah.
And I know we're not going to be on Thursday. So what are you doing for Thursday?
Thursday. Well, today's my dad's birthday, which I always felt bad
nice
for my dad, even as a kid, because I was like, oh man, like it's so close to Christmas. He loved it because he was like, our family was across the country. So everybody was always together for Christmas. So I was like, oh yeah, you always got a family birthday cake. And there was always family. It wasn't about it was never about gifts for my dad. It was like, look, everyone's here. But if I was born in June, I'd get a card or a call. He's like, I sort of like this better. So I'm going to pick my dad up from where he's living. We're going to, I don't know if you noticed, I didn't stand it. Jimmy's not so great at making Christmas trees perfectly stand up straight. We'll work on that. I'll get on that.
It's not even plugged in. There's no lights.
I know, because it fell over in the middle of the night. I was like, am I getting broken in with? I came out, saw the tree on the floor, water everywhere. You know what I did, Tony? Went back to bed. That's a tomorrow Jimmy problem.
Quick question. Did you only hang ornaments and lights on the front, or did you go all the way around?
Oh, I go all the way around.
Okay.
Like ornaments, I'll go
over when you only do the front.
Yeah. No, ornaments, I'll go like 80%. Like I won't do it on the straight back, but I do have one of those like stick lights that's on the floor. So it makes the whole tree glow. It doesn't glow when the tree is on the floor though. Again, 3:00 in the morning, I thought I was getting robbed. Nobody wants to come rob Jimmy. The tree just fell over. Ben Galen, happy holidays. See you in 2026. We might be back between now and 2026, right? There's a week.
Yeah, you and Dave will do Tuesday. I'm going to be out.
I would say choose your hard. Listen, and then if you're raging against something, put that argument into ChatGPT and ask it honestly, are there logical fallacies at play? Be open to being wrong. Be open to being wrong. I was going to say something different, but I'm not. I'm going to say be open to being wrong. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Happy holidays. Good show.
That's it. We're out.
Boys, what the hell are you doing?
Follow Tony Maritano on YouTube at Total Therapy Solution. Find Dave Kittle at ConciergePainRelief.com and on YouTube at The Dave Kittle Show. And follow Jimmy McKay at PT Pinecast on YouTube, the socials, and wherever you binge podcasts you pretend are for CEUs. And hey, here's a reminder. None of this was for advice. This was for entertainment only. Our lawyers say that counts. Thanks, Keith.